we're going to do a one-night-only return of Rowdy Reads to the Saturday stream. Now, I've actually got, it's kind of a Halloween-themed story I'm going to read for you. It's one of the tales from this book. Yes, indeed. I owned a copy of this way back when I was a kid. And this is actually what first introduced me, of course, not only to the Uncle Remus stories, but what drove me to go and watch that infamous film, Song of the South, when it was released to theaters way back in 1986. The last official distribution that Disney has made of that movie, at least in the United States here. It was only about a few months ago that I was finally able to attain, at not a cheap price, I will have to say, but did finally able to acquire another copy of this book. Yeah, it's pretty large, actually. I remember it being pretty huge back when I was a kid. Like I said, I was 7 years old in 1986. And it's still a larger size than what I thought it might be. In fact, I had to completely reorganize the length of my shelves in order to get this thing to fit. But I'm going to go ahead and read you one of the stories in here that's, again, it's sort of Halloween themed. We're going to read Brer Rabbit and the Gizzard Eater. See here. Yep, here we go. I'm gonna try to. I'm going to warn you. I wasn't sure exactly what tone I should read this in. I'm gonna just to be on the safe side. I'm going to avoid reading most of the dialect in any type of Uncle Remus tone, just to be on the safe side, so no one can actually accuse me of being offensive or anything. So I'm going to try to read this as best as possible in a normal tone and dialect. I'll of course make some exceptions for the dialogue in the story itself, but hopefully the way I'm going to read this isn't going to bother many people, at least. But here we go with Brer Rabbit and the Gizzard Eater. One evening, Brer Rabbit was invited to a Halloween party way over across the river. While he was there toasting marshmallows and bobbing for apples, a great rain poured down. By the time Brer Rabbit left the party, it was late in the night. Now the rain had stopped, but the river was all swelled up. The bridge was broke and the ferry wasn't running. Brer Rabbit sat down on the riverbank, trying to study out a way to go across and get home. He studied and studied. The river looked wide. The water in it looked the deepest, wettest water he'd ever laid eyes on. Brer Rabbit didn't like it. Maybe someone around here got a boat, he said to himself. I'll call out and ask. Hey! Hey-o! He hollered into the darkness. Hello! Anybody got a boat? Hey-o! Hey! Nobody answered. Brer Rabbit hollered again, then again. He hollered so loud and so long that he woke up Brer Alligator, stretched out on his muddy bed in the river grass just below. Who's that making all that racket up there? He shouted. What do you want? It's Brer Rabbit. I want a boat. Brer Rabbit, eh? Well, what you want a boat for this time of night? Brer Alligator crawled out from his bed and rose up to the top of the water. He floated there backwards and forwards like he don't weigh anything more than a feather. I want a boat to carry me across this wet river, said Brer Rabbit. Too bad. There ain't no boat here. But wait a minute now. I'll tell you what I'll do, Brer Rabbit. I'll carry you across the river myself. Brer Rabbit, he was sort of surprised at this, because he ain't exactly what you might call a friend, Brer Alligator. Never to be no loving words or Christmas presents circulating around between the rabbit and the alligator family. However, Brer Rabbit wanted to get across that river mighty bad. Thank you, Brer Gator, he said. Just how deep is that water you're floating in? "Yeah, this river's so deep," Brer Gator answered, "that if you was to fall in right now, would it be tomorrow morning before you touched the bottom?" This made Brer Rabbit feel like he was going to faint dead away. "Well, Brer Gator," he said, "how you figure to take me across this deep river?" Brer Gator, he blew a bubble or two out of his nose and said, "I'll carry you across on my back, of course." Brer Rabbit, he thought and he thought, and the more he thought, the more he didn't like this idea. But he gotta get to the other side of that river. "Brer Gator," he said, "I believe I'll accept your invitation and go along with you. Please be so kind as to drive yourself up a little closer onto the bank so I won't slip whilst I'm getting on." Brer Gator, he drifted up by the side of the bank and floated there with his two eyes shining like little red lights, big broad smile on his face. Now, Brer Rabbit noticed that when the alligator smiled, his mouth had a double row of monstrous sharp teeth that stretched all the way back to his ears. This made Brer Rabbit shake and shiver like he was having a chill. He looked up, he looked down, looked all around, but he didn't see no boat, nor floating log to help him get across that river. He don't see nothing except that alligator. "Brer Gator," he said, "your back is rough with bumps and humps. How am I gonna ride it?" "Easy," Brer Gator said. "Just fit your feet on the bumps and humps and brace yourself. Then just sit there easy like you was riding a water horse." Well, sir, Brer Rabbit got on. But he had no sooner got on than he wished mighty hard he was off. That alligator, he slipped through the water like he was greased. Now, of course, Brer Rabbit kept his eyes wide open, and pretty soon he noticed that Brer Alligator wasn't steering for the other side of the river at all. He was steering for someplace way far off in the dark. "Why, this alligator's up to something," he said to himself. "What's the matter with you, Brer Gator? You ain't steering very well," he sang out, or maybe you forgot you was taking me across the other side of the river?" "Forgot?" snorted Brer Gator. "I ain't forgot nothing." Now Brer Gator turned his head all the way around and grinned at Brer Rabbit. "Especially, I ain't forgot that day you set the grass afire down here by the river and I got burnt. That's the reason my back is so rough, Brer Rabbit, and that's the reason I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting a long, long time. Well, now I got you." Brer Gator opened up his great mouth and he laughed. Brer Rabbit looked down into that big open alligator mouth. Seemed like he saw more teeth than there was stars in the sky. And he looked down at the deep, dark water gurgling all around, and Brer Rabbit trembled. He couldn't speak a word because the cold fear was clutching at his windpipe. Brer Gator, he kept on laughing and slipping along through the water. "Brer Rabbit," he said, "I'm taking you way, way off to the slippery, sloppery slushes. And when I get there, I'm gonna goozle out your gizzard." Right then, Brer Rabbit's thinking machine started working faster than if lightning struck it. He cleared up his throat and he kind of chuckled. "Well, if it's a gizzard that you want, it's a mighty lucky thing you met up with me." Now Brer Gator sort of puzzled because he wasn't expecting to hear Brer Rabbit chuckle, and he was expecting to hear him boo-hoo. "Lucky? What do you mean lucky?" "Well, just this, Brer Gator. Since it's a gizzard you want, I've got something worth your while. I ain't got just one gizzard, I got two." "Two gizzards?" Now Brer Gator was terribly puzzled, and he was kind of curious about Brer Rabbit's two gizzards. "Why you got two? How come that?" "I don't know why, Brer Gator. All I knows is that I got 'em." "Well, you ain't gotta have 'em very long," said Brer Gator, "'cause I'm gonna goozle 'em out." "Well, I'm afraid you can't do that," said Brer Rabbit, "'cause I ain't got my gizzards here." "You ain't got 'em here?" Now Brer Gator was getting so curious about those two gizzards, he forgot about being so mad. What do you mean? What do you mean, Brer Rabbit? You mean you took your gizzards out and left them somewheres?" Brer Rabbit snickered, acting like he thought Brer Gator was just a numbskull kind of creature. "Of course I took my gizzards out. It's Halloween. Whoever heard of a rabbit going to a Halloween party with his gizzards in?" Now Brer Gator was so crazy puzzled his mind was all mixed up. he didn't understand about this gizzard business, and he ain't never been invited to a Halloween party, so he don't suspect that Brer Rabbit was up to any tricks. "Well, Brer Rabbit," he said, where'd you done leave your gizzards when you took 'em out?" "I hid 'em, Brer Gator, right over there in the trunk of a big hollow tree." Brer Rabbit pointed through the dark towards the woods on the other side of the river, just where he wanted to go. Well, sir, Brer Gator, he can't wait another minute to get hold of those gizzards. He whirled around in the water, and he steered straight for the woods, swimming along as fast as he can. Soon as they got close up to the land, Brer Rabbit made the jump for the dry, solid ground. "Come on, Brer Gator," he yelled, "this is the way, just follow me." And with that, Brer Rabbit just disappeared into the dark. Brer Gator, he scrambled up the bank, but of course he ain't fast enough to follow Brer Rabbit. Right away, he got lost. For all I know, that alligator is still thrashing around those woods somewheres, hunting for Brer Rabbit, a holler tree, and 2 rabbit gizzards that ain't there.